So there's pretty much one constant in every single one of our videos, and that is the Concept2 machine. However, there are a lot more machines out there. What would happen if I could find a $10 machine instead of having to pay $1,000 for the Concept2? Let's figure that out. All right, so I got a beat on a $10 rowing machine that's at a consignment shop about a mile and a half from my house. We're gonna go see if that actually exists, and if it does, we picking it up and we're gonna come back and review this thing. So let's just go see.
Real bad boy. I've got a ton of gravel in my shoes, world on my shoulder, heart full of blues.
This is the consignment shop. Been hunting around and I didn't see anything until rowing machines. You're coming home with me.
Down in the dirt.
Oh man, it really happened. $10 and we got this guy. All of it. Hydraulic based Tunturi rowing machine. I don't even know if it works. It was hiding behind an armoire.
I've been a real bad boy on the town all night. Starting to calm down with the morning light. I'm in the dirt, down in the dirt.
So we've got the two machines. Let's take a look at our two contenders individually and see what we're up against. So rowers typically don't consider any other machine other than the Concept2 and maybe RP3 as legitimate machines in the world of rowing, but that's primarily because those machines allow for legitimate testing. So you get data that you can spread across anybody who uses the machines. It's trusted data, and you can use it to stack up against one another, as well as the algorithms that they use are relatively similar to what you're gonna find on the water. So you're not gonna see these huge discrepancies. The other thing is that so many people have adopted these machines that it means that they're very usable, and that's really where Concept2 has a leg up on the rest of the market. Now, are there a whole bunch of other effective machines? Absolutely. But what we're talking about is, can you get a great workout out of a $10 machine? Yes, $10. Technically, I think it was $10.83 because I had to pay tax. We're in California. But the question is, how do these two things stack up against one another? Now, let's begin by taking a look at each of the machines before we get started. Our first competitor, I'm going to pronounce as Tunturi. It's originally a Finnish brand, and I don't know a whole lot about it. It's not a brand I have heard of before, but apparently they created the world's first cycling ergometer, indoor rowing ergometer, back in 1969. So let's take a look at the stats on Tunturi. Somebody correct me on that in the comments below, please. First, the Tunturi is originally from Finland. Tunturi means big mountain in Finnish, and this is a Finnish-based company. In 1969, they created the world's first home trainer with an ergometer. Now, that piece is interesting because the Concept2 is called an erg, which is short for ergometer, and that is why it's called an erg, is because it's an ergometer machine as well. The model that we have appears to be pre-1990. It is piston driven and it's sculling based. You could argue that the Concept2 machine is a sweep based machine meaning that both hands are connecting to one oar handle. On the Tantri, you are one oar handle per hand, if that makes any sense. Now, let's take a look at the Concept2, our challenger. And now the Concept2 breakdown, our challenger to the Tantri. Concept2, founded in 1976. The erg, as you know it, was created in 1982. The thing that you may not know about Concept2 is that they actually started by making racing oars for the rowing community. They did not start as a rowing machine company. If you're in the fitness world and you only know their indoor rowing side, understand that they do have a much larger, I'm not necessarily sure larger is the right way of putting it, but they do have a large oar production side, and that is another big piece of their business and actually how the company was started. Other than that, I don't really feel like I need to do a whole lot because you probably know the machine pretty well. So let's get into actually looking at these two machines against one another, our $10 versus our $1,000 machine. Now, before we get started, there is one thing we need to make sure we do, and that's to lay out some appropriate criteria for me to judge these two machines against one another. Otherwise, I mean, it's still just going to be purely my subjective decision on this thing, but having some criteria makes it a lot more fun and gives me something to actually look at between the two machines. So, let's take a look at what those are. Number one is going to be space consumption.
You can't fit in there.
Bet you I can.
You can't.
How much space does it take up? Is it convenient for where you live and storage purposes? Because often storage is at a premium in most of our homes. Number two is going to be tracking, as in data tracking. How much data and feedback are you getting from the machine? Number three is style. How good do these things look? Number four is going to be maintenance, as in the ability to maintain them. How hard or easy is it to find parts, work on it yourself, so on and so forth. And number five is price.
12, 6, 10, 9, 8. Done.
Of course, this is a price comparison, $10 versus $1,000 for a rowing machine, so ultimately that is definitely going to be a part of this discussion. Number one is space consumption. Now let's start with the Tantri. On that machine, everything is fixed. However, it is significantly shorter. There is no front angle towards the flywheel. There is no flywheel at all. It's piston driven. Those pistons live alongside the monorail. Everything is very compact. In fact, as you could tell from the intro, I was very easily able to get this in and out of my Mini, and actually much easier than I can a Concept2, although I can also get a Concept2 in my car. Now that brings us to Concept2. Now, if you leave the machine as one unit, it takes up a significant amount of space. It's taller, it's not wider, but it is taller for sure. And if you were to leave it as one unit, it would be more cumbersome and take up more space. However, it is take apartable. It comes in, breaks in half. Many people don't know that. It's simply a lift of a lever and the two pieces come apart. The monorail as one side and the flywheel as the other. So with that being said, you could argue that they are about the same in storage size if you're willing to take it apart whenever you're not using it and storing it. However, whenever you go to use it, it is going to consume much more space than the Tantri. So in this column, I'm going to give the V to the Tantri because I believe that that compactness just cannot be, there's no way to make it bigger. It is that size. Whereas Concept2, when you go to use it, it's gonna take up more space. Now, that could also be argued as an advantage for its mechanics, but we'll get to that in a second. Number two is gonna be data feedback. I don't know what to say on the Tantri side on this one. There is no data feedback. There's nothing. There's no monitor, there's no ergometer, which is actually quite interesting considering they created the first ergometer-based indoor bicycle. Perhaps this is a pre-bicycle version. I looked at photos of that 1969 indoor cycling ergometer. The designs actually look very close to one another. The same green logos, the striped logo design, the white, it all looks pretty similar. Perhaps it was pre-1969 before they had the idea to throw an ergometer onto the machine, and that's the version we got. So, on data feedback on the Tunturi, we got a big fat eh. On the Concept 2 side, it is the world standard. What more can you say? Pretty much everybody follows along with that monitor. You can link to your online logbook, you can compete with people around the world. There's really no argument here. V goes to Concept 2 on this one. Number 3 is gonna be style. Now, it would just be so easy to give the V to Concept 2 on this one. It's sleek black lines, standing with that sun reflecting off of the monorail just makes it seem like this towering beauty of a machine looming over the old vintage fading away Tunturi. However, there's something charming about the Tunturi. It is this kind of 70s-ish modern design. The green logo just is calling to me a little bit. Something about the like kind of peeling felt on the footboards, and I can actually smell oil coming out of the pistons when I'm working out. It's a bit visceral, if you will. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily move you through the proper mechanics of the movement, and it's like rowing through sludge with bungees on your boat, but the style, the look of it, it's what my grandparents had in their basement. The earliest memory I have of a rowing machine would be something very like the Tunturi, where it's this just small, compact. It was in their guest bedroom. I remember as like a 10-year-old, I'd jump on the thing and I had no idea what it was about. But something about that vintage feel is just super cool to me. Like, I'm not sure if I'm gonna give up this machine after this video's over. It might live in my garage. Unless somebody makes me a compelling offer to buy it off me, I think it might live in the Dark Horse HQ garage for a while. Oh man, this one's a toughie. I'm inclined to I'm gonna call this a tie. I mean, yeah, modern, sleek, cool. It's like the runway model of machines goes to the Concept 2. It's just it's perfect in so many ways. The Tunturi is this cool, eclectic, like 70s, I don't know what the vibe is, but it's just a little bit off, and I kind of dig that. So I'm gonna call this one a wash. Both are gonna take the V on this one. Now number 4 is gonna be maintenance. On this one, the Tunturi is very outdated. I was able to find on some very old, obscure sites like Sears, what was it? SearsPartsDirect.com. I found a very old manual and parts explosion of the machine, and a website that actually carried some replacement parts. So yeah, the parts may still exist in order to fix this machine. But from a perspective of ease and how am I gonna be able to maintain this thing, I don't think it's gonna go very well. Now on the Concept 2, this thing is as easy as it comes to maintain. The parts are inexpensive, it's basic bike parts, it's meant to be worked on quickly, easily, and by anybody with very basic tools. So the V in this one, the win, is gonna go to Concept 2 because of its ease and easy access to parts for maintenance purposes. It just got decidedly colder while I was filming that, thus the addition of the vest. But we're on to part 5, which is price. And on this one, there's really no contest. The Tunturi was $10.82 or 83 cents from a consignment shop nearby that was all too happy to get rid of it. They could not have given it to me faster. It was stuffed behind an armoire, just waiting for somebody to come take it. They didn't want it, and so we got it. That made for this great video. Concept 2, on the other hand, $1,000. I mean, it's a little bit under, but let's just call it 1,000. $10 versus $1,000. Now, if I were to just assign that a win, that would go to Tunturi, because for $10, how can you go wrong when it comes to fitness? but I believe the discussion is a bit more involved than that. So at the end of the day, what we're really summarizing is what's the value to you as the user. And that can come with a host of different discussions. For example, do you just need to get a workout in and you don't care about tracking or looks or any of that information, you just want to move? Well, in that case, a $10 value is going to be the clear winner here because it's just going to get you moving. And that will last you until you're ready to upgrade and step up into a, you know, $1,000 machine. On the other hand, if for you the tracking is extremely important, you want to learn everything that comes with the mechanics and moving on the Concept2 machine, and you want something that looks really nice, then the $1,000 value is going to be your important decision because to you that's worth it. And we know that once you have possession of something, it becomes immediately more valuable to you. I now value this Tuntury more than I did when I saw it on OfferUp for 10 bucks. It was just a machine with a picture on it. And now that it's sitting here in my driveway, I can smell the oil while I'm using it. While it doesn't really come along with great mechanics, it still gets me moving, and it's got a lot of resistance. So it's actually kind of like weightlifting on a machine. It's like setting it up to 10 and then taking it up to 11. That's the Tuntury. Turn that up to 11. Anyways, in summary, if we were to count it all and bring it into our column here, it's a dead tie. The winner on price came down to the Tuntury, 10 bucks. You can't beat that. However, value is what at the end of the day creates this decision that is yours ultimately to make. And for that, I can't answer that question, but I can tell you that this is quite a fun experiment between a $10 machine and a $1,000 machine. So guys, if you really enjoyed this video, drop a comment below. I really want to know if you've had an opportunity to ever row on something like a Tuntury before, or what machine you're using at home. And frankly, I'd just love to see the variety of machines that people use, from RP3 all the way down to a 40-year-old Tuntury. Who knows? But I would love to hear about it. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you guys loved this video, make sure that you hit subscribe so that you can tune in to all of our videos. It'll pop up on your feed every time we come out with a new one. And if you just loved it, make sure that you hit that bell right next to it, because that actually sends you an alert when we put out a new video every single Tuesday, so that you can get all of our latest videos. And as always, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you on the other side. You're coming home with me.
Get your coat, you've pulled!